Layne, you know how I just told you that story about my son and his penis?
Will you tell it to me again?
I would love to. So I'm in this really beautiful stage of parenting that I've never been in before because I've never had a toddler son. But it turns out they love their penises, I guess. I've heard from other moms that this is a real experience, and I'm right in it.
I am here to tell you, as a person who has been the teacher of 2-year-old boys.
Okay. Very true.
Love their penises.
Oh, see, I love this. This is so funny.
I want to enunciate. They love their penises.
They love,
I feel pretty neutral about that.
Like, I'm fine with it. Yeah.
They love their
penises. And I love their love for their penis. I find it to be like a comedy at all times. So Wilson was at a party. He's probably going to hate that I'm telling you this, so just pretend I didn't tell you once he turns like 18.
Yeah, we'll scrub him from the internet.
Exactly. He was at a birthday party recently. We don't know everybody there very well. And he pulled down his pants and said, I would like to show everyone at this party my penis. I was like, I hear you. It's amazing. But we're not going to do that. And then it had to have been a few nights later. We're at the dinner table and he stands up and pulls down his pants and says, Eloise, would you like to squeeze my willy? Like just the most pure hearted, like enthusiasm. And I'm like, no, buddy, only you squeeze your willy. And then I'm pausing to like hear my own words because I'm like, nobody trained me for what I'm supposed to say in this moment. And then he looks at me with just like the most pure hearted eyes and he's like, Mom, I'm just sharing. She didn't get one, you know? Like, that is so real. She didn't. Welcome to episode 2 of the Very Good Enough podcast. We were thinking it might be nice for you to know who you're listening to and why we're here. And since many of you know me already, I'm assuming because you're here, I would love for you to start us off. Will you just give us an intro of who you are and how you found yourself here talking about toddlers and young children?
It's been a long road.
Yeah.
It's been a long road. I'm Layne Cherland. I am the founder of Enquiry Co., which is a company that supports parents and teachers in early childhood. And my background is as a preschool teacher, which I accidentally stumbled into at 22 years old. I was in a job where I was working next to someone whom I loved, who was never going to love me back. And my dear friend was like, no, this is no more.
Go be with toddlers.
No more of this.
They'll love you.
Scooped me up as a good friend does and plopped me into a classroom next to her.
That's a good friend.
And I wandered in like, sure, what is this going to be about? And like found 2-year-olds as though no one had never ever heard of them before.
Wow.
I discovered them and then couldn't stop talking about it for years and years, genuinely as though I had invented them. And everyone was like,
gosh.
yeah, they're cool.
Yeah,
we know.
they're fine.
Fine. No, you don't understand. This is the rawest form of humanity. This is the only time people are ever telling the truth. These are like the claims that I'm making about 2-year-olds.
Penis.
No one is ever going to tell you the truth about their penis again.
Aww,
Wilson will never tell you the truth again.
That's so sad.
It's sad and it's beautiful and it's so poignant because it is so limited. The very fleeting nature of early childhood and for me especially 2-year-olds is what makes it so like viciously precious.
Are they honest because they're not aware of everyone else yet? They just think the whole world sees the world the way they see it?
Yeah, they just discover that they exist as like an individual who's not the same as you, mom, or like the environment and world that they're in. So they just found themselves, but they still haven't explored what that means or collected any data. And they don't, in like this very gorgeous way, they don't care about anything except for their own experience. There's something uniquely raw and charming and powerful and volatile and true about a 2-year-old who is completely egotistical in the sense that they only hold their own perspective. And obviously you shouldn't stay like that. Sure. But when you're 2, that's all you are. Yeah. And you're just this like powerhouse of experience and exploration. And obviously I enjoyed teaching preschool.
Yeah. It's funny that you would not only like love it, but you would love it. It was this accidental job, but here you are all these years later. Yeah. And so when did you stop teaching preschool? Because you're not currently.
I'm not currently. It's been a few years. I actually fortuitously finished out the year before COVID started.
The word fortuitously reminds me of something. Part of what this podcast will bring you is just an amazing vocabulary. I learn new words all the time. I Googled liminal.
That's one of my favorites.
One of the first times we hung out. I just wanted to make sure that I thought it meant what you thought it meant. And I can't remember, but now I can't remember if I thought. I think I did because you explained it. But anyway, I'm just saying, be prepared for you to speak more eloquently with a vocabulary that will surprise the masses, after this podcast experience.
Perfect. I hope it's true. I was forced to read a lot of books as a small child.
I love that.
Fortuitously being of good fortune before COVID.
I won't need to Google it anymore now that you told me. Okay, fortuitously before COVID.
Before COVID. That was my last year. I guess that would make it 2019 or the summer of
It's all a blur.
2019. So I taught preschool and then was in administration and teaching, kind of toggling between like managing and training and then also being in the classroom for 6 years.
Wow. Okay. When did that evolve into you having your own business?
I took a little break from education entirely. I went and managed a vintage store, which my criteria were like, let's be somewhere beautiful and quiet where everyone keeps themselves alive.
So not like a toddler classroom.
Not like a toddler classroom. No, I started so young and I did it so wholeheartedly, like all the gears of my soul open, that I like burned out in the very natural way.
Sure.
It's a very hard field. And people, I mean, I think the life cycle is usually 3. Like I think I doubled the typical life cycle of early childhood education.
Okay. So take care of your early childhood educators is really a good takeaway for this.
Yep. Donuts, Trader Joe's gift cards, lots of love.
Okay.
Yeah. So I managed that store for a little while, and then I guess I just didn't feel done. And this is kind of still the state that I'm in, where I feel and felt that I had accumulated so much of this knowledge and passion and kind of like written my own stories around how to be with children. And I felt like I had unearthed some things that were unique to my perspective that I love and that seemed to be really meaningful to people. So some of that was just kind of still hovering in the background. And I felt and feel like it still needs to get out and be useful.
Yeah.
So I started Enquiry Co. and I started with just curriculum, 3-4-year-old curriculum, which is available and great. But I also now I'm in this sort of lovely moment, and you kind of met me in this moment of transition where I was and am really assessing, how do I want to do business, and what is this actually like the channel for all of this stuff that needs to get out.
I love that.
So there's a lot of exploration still, and that's kind of where you're finding me, and hopefully some of what this podcast is going to serve.
Yeah, is you giving what you have to all of these parents now who are listening. Like, please help me understand my toddler. It's definitely for me like affirming to hear that it's really hard for people to work with toddlers long term. I feel like as a mom, it's a bit validating, because especially for those moms who are full-time moms, I hear from those moms and they're like, wow, I can't figure out who I am. Like, I'm having a hard time thinking. I'm really burnt out, or like my toddler's losing it and I want to be able to handle it properly, but I can't manage my own reactions to help them manage theirs. And when I hear you say like, this is a career that people end up turning around from quickly, that's very good for moms to understand that this is just a hard time of life. They're beautiful creatures. And if you can understand what's going on in them, it can provide some perspective that could really help change things. But for the tired toddler mom, that's really affirming. You're tired because this is tiring work. And it's hard. Yeah,
you were saying that last week of wanting to just always be there to remind people like, this is hard because it's hard.
Yeah.
There's turbulence because you're flying an airplane through the wind.
Yes,
like
exactly.
This is, the nature of it is very challenging.
Yes.
And you're not creating the hardship. You're actually just in a thing that is wild and emotional and volatile.
Yes. Are you married? I know the answer, but are you married?
I am like aggressively married.
Aggressively
I'm, like,
married.
Most married that you can be.
You've been married for 5 years?
6 years. It'll be 6 in November. It's September right now. So 6 in November. Yeah.
So here's a question. You would be such a good mom. You have all of this in you. Like when I see you, I'm like, wow, I'd be lucky to be her kid. Tell me, Layne, Deyling, Cherland. Did I say it right?
You did. You got it.
Slow, but I'll get it faster. Why don't you have kids? I mean, I know that there's a little bit of comedy around this too, so it's going to take us, but you are like the kid woman, but you don't have any, and you actually don't want any at the moment, correct?
Yes. And I have to tell you, I have a lot of fears. We're about to talk about a lot of fears.
Yeah.
One of my fears in this podcast is that I feel like you might get me pregnant.
I might? Yeah. Oh, because you're around all the baby energy.
Being here and being so you about all the things. I feel terrified that this may be the way that the stars align for me to have just like provided this like person and community. Everything's right. And here you are at 31 and we brought along this lovely community member for you. So have a baby.
No, you do not need to have a baby. But I bet some of the fears you have are the same fears I had. Yeah. Because even though I'm like the mom lady, I did not want to be a mom. And this was actually a point of like stress in my marriage, which I'll go into later. But Sean was so excited to be a dad. I think that we got married at I was 20 and he was 22. If I got pregnant the month after we got married, I think he would have been thrilled. I don't even think there would have been an adjustment time. He'd just be like, cool. What is and I was like, no way ever. And then the one day my sister got married, my little sister, and I have kind of a maternal role in her life, or I did at the time. She got married, and I just felt this sort of relief in me and sort of a release as well of like, okay, that she is safe. And I went to Sean and was like, I think I could be a mom. I think we could have a baby. Wow. And he was like, tonight's the night. And then we were pregnant soon after. And
that's
amazing. I was so afraid. And I even with each child, I think fear is one of the major things that I've dealt with more than anything else. So let's launch into a little bit of fear conversation.
I have been waiting my whole life for this thing that people have always told me was going to happen. Oh, when you fall in love, you'll be like, I gotta have this person's baby. Whoa. Oh, when you approach 30, you'll be like, oh shit, my eggs are...
You can swear. It's fine.
Is this a swearing podcast?
I can swear. The only... Okay, guys, that I'm leaving that in. I want to leave it in. I like it. I think it's real. You guys will have to tell us though, like if you're watching with your kids or listening with your kids, we'll try and scale it back. Okay.
I can scale it back. I can consciously for you.
Yeah. Scale it back. But you tell us. Because if you're like, no, I'm listening with headphones, just talk real, then like perfect.
Okay.
They can tell us. They can tell us.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway.
Yeah. It's this thing people said you'll be like, oh no, I'm going to lose all my eggs and something will happen inside. One day you'll be in a store and you'll hold a pair of baby socks. And when you're holding these baby socks, your ovaries will explode inside you. And then when they recover,
you'll be pregnant.
A baby.
Target got you pregnant.
Target got you pregnant. I'm 31 now.
Totally.
I've been in love for a long time and I am super in love. And it just that thing that's like supposed to happen.
Yeah, hasn't.
Yeah, my mom was very adamantly not wanting to be a mother. She worked really hard and changed birth control a few times in her life and got some babies out of I guess some gaps. There's 3.
Wow.
That's my understanding anyway, is that's what happened. Out of her own, like, it felt like love to her to carefully not pass on some of the dark things in her own past and family lineage. And so I watched her really find her way through finding herself in this place and like really actively trying to do her best. And a lot of her best was great. And a lot of her best was not what I needed to be. Yeah. And so I'm sure there's some of that in there, like that's got to be in there. But I also am just like, that's so gross. Like you gotta grow. I gotta like grow this baby.
That's not at all what I thought you were gonna say.
I gotta grow this baby in my guts. I'm gonna like feel it scrape around from the inside.
Yes, it's magical.
It has to come out.
That's painful.
Yeah. And then you're supposed to like feed this baby with your body. It's this very like animal thing that in everyone else it's so I'm like into all the cool pieces. And it is interesting. There's a transition a few years ago into feeling like, oh, it wouldn't, if I had a baby I could totally do this. Like it stopped being this thing of like I would lose my mind. I would have no idea. I do know what to do. I do know which side of the diaper goes on the front. I've got all this child development and all this like stuff. And I do think I could do a really good job. I just also feel like if you're going to make a new person, you should like really, really, really want to be a mom. And I know that's a thing that happens on accident all the time. And that's not like,
I'm one of those people.
I don't mean to be like putting that onto anybody else's story. I just,
It's been such a wrestle for you. So you're like, I want to arrive there willingly with like gusto.
Mm-hmm. My husband would like to have a baby.
Whoa.
And so this is like
podcast is getting interesting.
It's a lengthy discussion, and it's still like very open talks. And I'm grateful to have a relationship where like we each care very deeply about the other person living a life that feels satisfying to them. And it's very meaningful to me that this is the thing that feels important to my husband to like have this human experience.
Yeah.
So
it's so cool you guys are talking about it, and things could change. Things could change for you. Things could change for him. And surprise babies happen. You know, Jules, she was my surprise girlfriend, and I cried a lot of tears.
Yeah.
They're on YouTube if you want to find them. And she's the best. I'm so glad I had her, but there is something really intense about a surprise.
Yeah. I think there's a part of me that's like trying to keep it in the gamble space.
Sure.
Like either an accident will happen or I'll just get really old.
What a gamble.
One or the other. But yeah, it is interesting. And then there are topics, there's a whole conversation to be had and is happening about all the people who are already alive in the world and don't have parents, and that I wouldn't have to grow. But I do think one of the things that is like big and scary to me that I think is like very interwoven in your story and history and life is who to be when you're somebody's mom. Like, where does all the Layne go when you have to focus on this like other person's life? And it seems like so many, maybe even most women who go through that transition end up in this world. They seem underwater. And they seem like they can't find, like, I don't know what it is. When I look, I feel scared about how buried people seem by the kid stuff. And like, where does the person go in the kid world? And that's very different from teaching, because I'm in charge of the kid world and then I go home.
You just described, I think, my whole heart and soul for this. And even like your vulnerability to share about how your mother's struggles impacts you. I really treasure my mom. I respect her a lot. And she also has struggled, and mental illness, I at least from my understanding, got more intense once having kids entered the picture. And so for me, there was definitely this kind of thing, this idea that like having kids is what ruins your life, or like having kids is what halts your life. So you live until you have kids, and then suddenly your life is about the kids. And I come from a family where there's like multiple suicides, and I don't mean to go like so dark, but that's the reality of what I think about behind the scenes. And even someone very, very dear to me, who once she had her second child tried to take her life because she was underwater. She was feeling that feeling. And my heart is like, how can we help those people keep swimming? So I wrote a book a few years ago. I didn't realize it's like almost done. I think I should like secretly give it to some people and just be like, do you like this? Because it's interesting. But I wrote it after I came out of my period of being depressed and having to go to the mental hospital. And excuse me, there's this one part where I talk about how when a new beginning happens, we're all so excited. And it's almost like this launch into a swim towards a beautiful destination, right? And so that could be like a wedding. You're so excited about your wedding. You're so excited about the future marriage, and you make all these incredible vows. Any new beginning is this amazing experience of like, here we go. We're going to start this off and it's going to be awesome. But then there's this period where you're like swimming so long that you can't really remember, or rather like you can't see where you came from, because you can still remember like, oh yeah, I remember my wedding, or I remember when I was having this baby, like being really excited about it. But you're far from the shore and you're far from where you're going. And what I was writing about was that feeling for me felt like, well, I guess I might as well drown. Like, I guess, or not even like I might as well. It's like, I guess I'm gonna. I either need a new beginning. So I'm looking like, is there a new shore? Which I was thinking even that happens. Like, you want to end your marriage and find a new one to start. Yeah. Or you think, I've heard of this actually a lot of times where people kind of feel like they blew it with their first child. So like, okay, I need a new beginning. I need a second child to do this differently with. And what I wrote about was how really probably what we need most is people to just remind us, like, we can do this, like, keep swimming, hang in there. You're not going to drown. We're going to keep you up, and the power in that. And then now to be on the other side even further, and that at that point of writing the chapter, I was just barely on the other side of it. But now here I am. I just see so many people feel that thing that you see that makes you nervous about becoming a mom, which I think a lot of people feel. Even pregnant people are looking around at parents being like, oh, no, like where am I going? And you don't have to feel like you're drowning inside of parenthood. But maybe one of the first keys to staying afloat is having community in your life, or having people who are speaking hope into you. Listening to this podcast could be one example of that, but friendship, connection, anything that can keep you feeling like I'm above this. What I'm not doing is trying to convince you to have a kid. But for the mom for the mom who might be listening going, oh no, actually what you just described is what I feel. I've felt that too. And it's not, I don't think it's the way parenthood has to be. I think that moments of that happen inside of parenthood, but probably people would argue that moments like that happen inside of singles, like people who are single or married but without children. There's seasons you go through that feel like, whoa, for whatever reason, we're drowning in some way. But parenthood, you just see it most visibly because the parents are like, they're driving a minivan and there's like crumbs everywhere, and you can hear sounds of kids' songs. I'm actually picturing one time, this is real, I was pregnant with Eloise, and wherever we were living, I like looked out the window, and there was a woman who was getting out of her car, and she just looked like she was having a day, and like her car was a minivan and it was full of stuff, and just the angle I had, I could see there was like Happy Meal trash everywhere, and the kids were not happy, and she did not look happy, and the sound was like really cheesy kid music, and I called Sean crying, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. It was like such a picture, like if that's my future, I don't know if I can do this. But I've lived some of those moments, and I'm okay. We're okay. Kids music, there's some good stuff. We just got to find it. But actually, Sean did something really good. I mean, a lot of parents do this. I would do this, but he just started introducing them to music that he loves, that he knows is fun enough that they would love it too. And so it's made car rides more pleasant for him when he's driving around with all three of them.
I think that's one of the mysteries of the universe that your husband has solved right there.
Yeah. I think you have to balance kid music and that, because they still beg for the stuff they love, but it's usually like, okay, you guys get one song, then daddy gets one song, then you guys get one song, you know? Something.
That's like a real reciprocal relationship too. Like that's the beginning of like human boundaries. It's like there are two of us here, and my experience is important and your experience is important. This is my edge and that's your edge.
So healthy. I love that. So healthy.
Look at him go, Sean. Just unearthing the gold.
I know, he's amazing. Layne, we want to take questions from moms in the community. Can I start us off with one? I know that you and I have talked about this type of situation before, so I feel like you're going to have a great answer. And I've talked to this mom directly, so I'm not going to read the question. I'm just going to tell you her situation.
Perfect.
Her situation is that she has 3 kids. Oh, by the way, she's not me. But the kids
asking for a friend.
Exactly. It's very important. She has a 2-year-old and a baby. The 2-year-old gets love aggression, essentially, is what it looks like, and it's very aggressive. And this mom, she is consistent, she is there at all times to separate them, but the little 2-year-old girl to her little brother is pinching him, drawing blood, biting him, drawing blood, and it's now been weeks of this. So it's been really the mom, when I talked to her, she was tears in her eyes, like, I don't know what else to do, I'm not sure what to try. Do you have tips for how to help a 2-year-old handle that? Because it's coming from a place of love. Like it's very obvious that she's not upset at the little one. It'd be different if it was like that. What do you think?
It's pretty classic. That's one of this like, I got this new toddler and now, or I've got this toddler and I have this new baby. Why is my previously sweet and delightful little toddler just like harming this precious, fresh new baby?
Yes.
And also, here are all my hormones about it.
Totally.
It's like very, very classic. So I do hope that the first thing would be to know that like that's just very real and very, very normal.
Okay.
That's very, very normal. my very first 2 pieces of advice for toddler parents, they all kind of start with this pattern of first sort of adult regulation. And then the next one is data collection. A lot of toddler behavior, and particularly that, it looks kind of scary. Like the visual of it from an adult perspective, and the sound, all of a sudden the baby's screaming. And it like raises those alarms inside and it feels scary. And so now you have this like precious 2-year-old who was just your tiny little baby, who you feel scared of them. And then that feels,
that's weird.
There's like
and you're
this
guilty.
real compound. There's like real compound feelings. So I just want to like acknowledge and hold those feelings, because that part is actually kind of the most important part, is the adult being able to like place this correctly inside of themselves,
so that she can respond versus reacting. Is that right?
Okay. So that she can understand and know and decide what she wants to do, rather than being like super caught up in these very real big feelings. Her 2-year-old is totally okay. It's totally okay that is happening, and that urge is happening. Okay. And of course we're not going to let that behavior continue, but it's really
it doesn't mean the child's unhealthy or something. Okay.
Yeah. And she is right that the 2-year-old doesn't want to hurt the baby. That's like not the goal inside of this little person. So just like hopefully like a little bit of relax in that. And then she mom gets to do what she needs to do in order to get herself some relief. If this has been happening for weeks and weeks on end, like it might be time to call somebody in and like hand off. And even though it feels hard and you might feel guilty to be like, I'm gonna go get coffee all by myself and just not be next to these 2 little people, like that might be the perfect thing, right? Like a well-regulated mom who's able to like be inside of herself and make choices is the absolute best thing for these 2 children, as opposed to a mom who is running out of what she needs, trying to just be there and be there and be there and be there. So taking care of herself is paramount.
Perfect.
And then next to the data collection, I think if she can spend some time just like really, really not making any major changes to what she's doing, or like focusing on trying to make this problem stop, but just like really noticing what was happening before, what was toddler doing, what was I, the mom, doing, like where am I in the room when this thing happens?
How close is this to mealtime or bedtime?
Was she previously playing with something else? How long has it been since she's like run or jumped, or like what kinds of things are her body doing? Just like really, and if you can take notes, I find it really helpful, even if it's just like a quick little voice memo to myself.
It's interesting because it makes sense hearing this, why you would start with the mom regulating herself, because if you're feeling panicked, taking a few days to collect data feels really freaky, because you're like, hold on, I've been doing this for weeks now. How am I supposed to let this continue? I just need a quick solution. But if she can be back into like, no, relax, everything's fine. You're doing such a good job as a mom. This is really intense. I'm sorry, this is so hard. Okay, everything's like sort of sorted out inside of her. Then she can be the observer who collects the data from a place of just maybe more peace.
Good. I'm glad that makes sense. Likely solutions, just to like throw a few out without, I don't have data about this particular child. So it's likely either that she does kind of need something, whether it's like attention or food or snuggles, or like maybe to just like have her own little body really squeezed or something. Or, and this one feels, just like in my little bones, this one feels a little bit more like it to me. I think that the toddler might be needing some kind of sensory input that goes along with her social interaction with the baby, because it sounds like she's super excited. And I mean, we have that sort of like, that's so cute, I want to crush it feeling, like so bad. I literally, my husband showed me a video of our brand new nephew this morning. And I was like, lick it, bite it, crush its face.
Wow.
Like, I love it so much, I just want to squeeze him.
Oh my gosh,
you know,
says
like
the girl who just told us.
Everybody else's babies are the best.
Okay, so you still have that. It's just, okay.
Yeah, so the urge is very real, and it exists in adults, and we're all very familiar with that. But for a 2-year-old, they don't have a way to know, like, I need to squeeze something. I need to bite something. I would really play into that for her. I mean, I would have, in a calm and quiet moment, a little talk, me and toddler. Hey, this thing keeps happening with baby, and I know you know about it, but like, the squeezing and the scratching, remember these little marks? We got to make sure that this doesn't happen, because I want you to be able to be with this baby and play with it and love it, but I only let people touch my baby gently. So I got you this. And I would look for something that's maybe like those kind of like foam letters or blocks, or even like the consistency of a makeup sponge. I don't know what those are made out of, so I might not pick that specifically, but like a toy that has that kind of a vibe to it, so that she can bite it. So that there is something that's yes. Where it's like, when you feel this feeling, oh, here's you want to visit the baby? Let's go get your fun toy. So that there's something already in her hands that she can destroy if she needs to. Like that feeling of digging your fingernails into something, or like that biting feeling. Like it may be that she just like really needs to have that input as she processes this feeling and then practices the social interaction, as opposed to it just being this huge no.
That's amazing. I would have never thought of that. That's genius.
I think that's
good.
I would start. Oh, thank you. Podcast.
So nice.
Would you like me to teach your toddlers?
Let's do it. Wow.
Yeah, looking for ways to meet the need, looking for ways to turn a problem into a yes.
Okay.
Yes, come and be near the baby. Yes, come and be with us. Yes, be excited. This is how. Here's your tool.
That's really good. Wow, that's great. Can I promote you for a second?
Yeah.
So if you want a one-on-one call with Layne, you can have it. And the way to do that, well, are there multiple ways to do that?
I mean, it's a pretty straightforward Calendly link, but I would.
Is it on your Instagram, or should they join our community? Or for sure, if you join at verygoodmothersclubhouse.com, it's our membership. You can try it out for a week for free. You could even go in there, try it out for a week for free, and during that free week, use the link that she has in there. Yeah, it's a 30-minute call, right? And moms have been doing it.
Yeah.
It's
been
dads
so fun
too, right?
Yeah, actually quite a few dads, and that's been like a real privilege and a pleasure.
Yeah.
And then some couples too. That's been the most fun, because then you get both caregivers on the same page and everybody kind of hearing the same information, and no one has the responsibility of translating.
Yes. I love it. Guys, this can be available to you. You can also follow her on Instagram, and you're really good at getting back to people. But I would love for you to get in contact with Layne, and I would love for you to be a part of our online community, because it's a great way for them to access you personally. But then also you lead calls with us. We do like weekly Zoom calls, and she leads some of them, and you can really just bring your situation to the call and she'll speak directly to it. This was good. Is there something else I have to say? This is our new for podcasting. What else?
We invited everybody.
We invited
definitely. The paid community is like the place that we're focusing most of our attention and energy.
Yes.
But I'm at Enquiry Co on Instagram.
Yep. And I'm Jess_Hover on Instagram if you want to follow my family.
Yeah. We're around. We would love to hear from you.
We would absolutely love to. Yeah. And we'd love to hear, like, what do you want to see here? Or here.
What would you like to hear here?
What would you like
am
to
I
hear
allowed to
here?
swear?
Yeah. And exactly.
I think the only thing left to do is for you to tell them what a good job they're doing.
Oh my gosh. You guys are doing such a good job. Such a good job. As we said last week, if you are here and you're aware enough about yourself that you want to be a good parent, you are a good parent. And we are so excited that you're here. We just value your time and hope that you guys have a really good day or night, depending on when you're listening to this.